Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. For this video, I'm gonna be doing something a little different. This is gonna be a small carpentry project, something that you yourself might not need to make. It might not be something that is super pressing for you, but it might be interesting for you to watch my process from start to finish. It might be entertaining. So what I'm gonna be making is a cap rack. I have a ton of baseball caps. Too many to count. And right now they're just sitting on my dresser. There's a big mountain of them. And ideally what I would love is something that I could just sort of like hang on the wall that stacks them up sort of like vertically. And I feel like most hat racks or most coat racks come in a version where they're sort of like stacked up side by side. But for those of you who live in small apartments, or for those of you who don't have a ton of space, stacking something up vertically might make more sense. And I thought, in addition to just sort of like having a bunch of hooks sort of vertically, it might be nice to think about it aesthetically. So I'm gonna take you through the process and I hope you enjoy. So for this project, you're gonna need, first of all, some wood. I have a big collection of scrap wood from different projects I worked on. So I'm gonna be trying to sort of find 4 pieces of wood. I'm making 4 of these, by the way, 2 for me and then 2 for my partner. So I'm gonna need 4 pieces of sort of equal sized wood. And then I also just happen to have a box of a ton of these cast iron coat hooks. It was actually an accidental purchase. I thought I was getting like a couple of these and it turned out to be like a set of like 30. So I have a ton of these hooks. It happens to be a perfect project for this box of hooks. I've had this box for maybe 3 years now, so it's nice that I'm finally finding a use for it. And then in terms of the plan, I could show you a little bit. So I think my loose plan is to have like a main piece of wood in the middle, as you can see here, with different hooks stacked vertically. And then I thought for sort of like ornamentation, it might be nice to use like a quarter round and then maybe sort of like a strip of wood on the top that's like wider and then a smaller strip on the bottom. And when it's put together, something like that, right? So it has like a little bit of sort of like a neoclassical sort of like aesthetic with sort of like foundation and like a cornice, but it's gonna be wood and it's not gonna be as like polished looking. It's probably gonna be a little rustic. But yeah, so follow along and see what I do. All right, so I am in a slightly weird situation where I have 3 pieces that are the same width. They're all different lengths. And then I have 1 piece which is slightly too wide. So the first step is I'm just gonna cut all of them down so that they're the exact same width. And I might even take a little extra off of the ones that are the same width, just so there's a fresh, clean edge on all sides. Awesome, so now they're all cut down to the same width. And then the cool thing is you get all of these like little scraps of wood that you could either use as paint stirrers, or you could use them in your wood burning stove as kindling to start a fire. And next up is cutting them all to the same length. So as you can see right now, got a real tall one, got a medium sized one, and a couple that are the same size. So I'm just gonna pick out 4 of the best pieces from the scrap wood and just cut them to the right length. I've got all of my materials cut to size. I have my lengthy vertical slabs that will go on the wall flat. And then, like I mentioned, I have these sort of like capital pillar heads, a sort of like plinth, a little quarter round to sort of show a transition. And then I even cut these little ones to sort of use as end caps on the bottom. And you could sort of see, like if you sort of like lay it out, how a sort of quarter round would fit nicely right there. And then if you grab one of these slabs, it starts to feel sort of like pillar. And once the sort of color is sort of unified, it'll feel like part of the finished piece. So next up, before I start assembling everything with glue and nails, is to just sort of sand it down so that there's not like rough edges or hard edges, make it feel a little bit more rounded and smooth. All right, there we go. I sanded them down. And now you can see with the edges sort of nicely smooth, we don't have like weird, frayed, frazzled edges. And I'm thinking this is sort of how it's gonna look when it's put together. Of course, like a coat of paint or maybe urethane, haven't decided yet to sort of unify it. But next up is gluing and nailing the piece together. Here they are all assembled. You can see sort of how they're gonna look as if they were sort of installed on a wall. We have our little column head. We have a bunch of these different hooks. And the real goal is that I could just sort of like, you know, one after the other, stack a bunch of hats. I'll show you what it looks like once it's all done on the wall with a bunch of hats. But yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to show you them put together. You can see I sort of glued it and nailed it together. And now I'm thinking about a finish. So I do love the wood finish that these have right now. However, as you'll see, they're going to be installed in a room that has a lot of fake wood paneling, the sort of like 70s wood paneling vibe. So you'll see what they look like. So I'm thinking instead, since I had some of this spray paint left over from a past project, I was thinking it might be nice to sort of match the color of the hooks and really unify the whole piece together in this black color. Looks sort of like charred, a little carbon-like with this like matted black. So I'm now going to go ahead and give each of these a nice solid coat of spray paint. So it goes without saying, but before you start any project where you're using spray paint, you need to wear a respirator. Your lungs are just too valuable for you to start being careless and breathing in dust and sediment. So that said, go ahead and get your respirator on and get started. And somewhat of an anecdote, but the screws that I'm using are this like bright silver, and I just don't think that's the look with like all of this unified black and then these bright silver screws. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna spray paint the fronts of all the screws so that they don't pop out too much. And so I pretty much finished the construction of the cap rack. As you can see, I've had it hung on the wall right over here. It's perfect for taking my hat off and just finding a hook and placing it on it like that. It's a little dark, so let me give you a little close-up of what it looks like. You can see that the hooks sort of blend in nicely with the dark finish. The screws don't stand out so much. It has like a real nice unified look. And let me show you also just a little bit about the back and how I'm actually attaching it to the wall. So what I did was I took a piece of regular wire and I stapled the wire to the back of the wood, and then I got real close here. You can see I twisted the wire around. So it's essentially just like a little hook for whatever is sticking out of the wall. In this case, it's a nail, but I know back where I'm gonna be installing it in my, my wardrobe area, that'll be more like a picture hook. So this can fit really nice on the picture hook, just like so. And next up, I'll show you just what it looks like installed in the space where I get dressed every morning. And I'll show you the before and after of my mountain of different types of baseball caps and how it looks like when they're organized on this cap rack. So here I am. This is my closet area, the room where I get dressed every day. And as you can see, this is on any given day, you'll see a big pile of hats that are really unorganized, and I'm really excited because I was able to install the hat rack. It just fits real nicely on the wall like so. I have one over here as well. And The next step is to just sort of put them on the rack. And as you can see, it's super easy just to stack them up. And in a matter of a couple of seconds, you went from a cluttered mess to something much more manageable. You could even use some of like the lower hooks and arrange them in a way that looks nice on your wall. And maybe over here, I'll just put one more. Okay. And there you go. It's as easy as that. Well, I hope that you found this inspiring. I hope that maybe those of you who have a ton of baseball caps might try this out. In the comments below, let me know how you make sense of all of your baseball caps, what techniques you use. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this down the line. Thanks a lot, guys.